think I'll get out my packed lunch and have a sandwich with this view. Every time I round a corner I get bigger and bigger views. And then get it pitched. What more could you want? Hello and welcome to another video, coming to you today from sunny Exmoor. It's been a couple of weeks since I was last out, so it feels good to be out and spoilt by the weather gods. I was originally planning on going to Wales today, but the prospect of cloudy skies and 0 degrees didn't really compare with 18 degrees and sunshine here in Exmoor. And I haven't had my lunch yet and I've just seen the perfect spot. So I think I'll get out my packed lunch and have a sandwich with this view. So while I sit here munching away on my peanut butter and jam sandwich, I'll tell you what I'm doing today. The view I showed you before, this is Woody Bay, and we've got Martinholme Manor tucked away down here. And I'm parked in a car park about half a mile over towards the east in a car park that sits above Woody Bay. The coast path here follows on through West Woody Bay Woods, and I'm going to follow that in the direction of Combe Martin, and I'm going to camp out near Great Hangman, which is a fairly pointy hill, and it's actually got some really interesting mines cut into it. I won't be going in there today, but I'd love to go back there another time when I've got someone else with me. It's about a 6-mile walk, so I'll finish my sandwich and get moving. We're looking down on Heddon's mouth here, so it's quite a long drop down and then quite a big climb up. I've just had a look at the OS map and it looks as though once I've followed this trail down to the bottom of the valley, I'm going to be climbing back up and following a path along that face amongst all that scree, and it should be around about the same elevation as where I am now, so somewhere around that area my finger was just tracing. So that looks like it could be a fairly interesting prospect. It looks like fairly loose ground over there, so it could get tricky underfoot, but the path is marked on the map, so let's go and find it. So you can see the scree slopes over here, but it looks as though the path itself is going to be safe enough. Just skimming over the top of it, so we should be good. I've never walked in this part of Exmoor before, so it's all new to me. I haven't even been to Heddon's mouth, but looking at it, it definitely looks like somewhere I'd like to come back to. My kit list for today is fairly standard, in keeping with most of my other camping trips this year, except I've swapped out my sleeping bag, so I've downgraded from the Rabascent 900 to the Berghaus Elevation 600. That saves me about 300 or 400 grams, and there's just no need for the warmth of the Rab sleeping bag tonight, because it should be no cooler than 7 degrees Celsius, and the wind chill is fairly negligible, sort of 5 to 10 mile an hour breeze through the night, hopefully, although I am going to be right on the coast, so I could get some sea breeze. But it should be much warmer than my other camps this year. Honestly, every time I round a corner, I get bigger and bigger views. Look at that. Well, I found where tonight's pitch is going to be. It's not quite where I was hoping to be. I was going to be slightly further over on a flatter and more concealed piece of ground, but this will do for me tonight, so I'm quickly going to get the tent up. Out with the Terra Southern Cross one. So I'm just going to checklist down, get the poles out of their bag. And slot it in, and then get it pitched. Now I can go and look at these views. I'm going to keep this brief because all I do when I pitch this tent is talk about the tensioning of the inner, but you can see the tensioning strap in the far corner there, and then there's one in the opposite corner, and these two corners. What I'd been neglecting to do was tighten the one up that's connected to the side nearest the blue hoop pole. So having tensioned that, you can see that my inner looks much better on the floor, and very slightly better on the head and the foot end as well. So I will be doing that every time going forward. Well, the sun is just starting to drop behind the cloud now. It's not quite setting, but there's a band of clouds sitting over the sea. And I'll show you around my tent tonight. You can see I've treated myself to a couple of BrewDogs for tonight. I've got my MSR Windburner stove as ever, breakfast for the morning, half a litre of water for cooking, rucksack tucked away in there, long spoon, pasta bolognese for my main, and then I've got some salted caramel chocolate brownie for pudding, both from Wayfarer. This is my Berghaus Elevation 600 sleeping bag that I'm using tonight. It's a little bit lighter than the Rabascent, and as ever my trusty Thermarest NeoAir XTherm. And now I've just got my bag of clothes in the blue bag, tent and whatever else, bags all in the yellow dry bag, and my electricals down at the end. And I think with that sun going down, it's time to crack open a beer. This seems like as good a place as any to cook to me. So I can watch the last of the sun going down. Make the most of that evening summer daylight. It's not that cold. I've got my layers on just because you always cool down in the evening. It was just over 7.5 miles in the end of the walk. It was fairly hot work, but of course as soon as you stop walking, that's when you cool down. So it'd be good to get some nice warm food on the go. I've got to say I'm looking forward to that pudding as well. Salted caramel chocolate brownie. I spoil myself. There are a couple of people camping about 100 metres away from me, just over a little hill in this field. I think we're both out of earshot of each other. It's the closest I've ever wild camped to anyone else, I think. I don't mind, they are a very pleasant couple. It's good to see people out. Well, two things really. I mean, I I suppose, of retirement age maybe. If you're watching this, I don't want to be rude, but I'm going to guess that you're in your 60s. And they are out together hiking the southwest coast path. And they are doing a big old chunk of it. They are doing day after day of this, so fair play to them. Get that cranked up, get my food heated through. What a gorgeous evening. There's a really, really gentle breeze. 2 or 3 miles an hour maybe. It's still really mild. I think the forecast saying it should be about 10 or 11 degrees at the moment, which feels about right. And I've got nothing to do but drink my beer, eat my food, and enjoy that massive, expansive sea view. This is Great Hangman up to the left here if I'd lean back. That was my last ditch option for pitching my tent. So if I couldn't find any flat, clear ground where I am now, my plan was to head up Great Hangman. And that probably would have taken about another 45 minutes, being realistic. So I'm glad I was able to find this pitch here. It's actually worked out really well. You can hear the birds still singing. What more could you want? Good morning, it's about 5:30 in the morning. The birds have been singing since about 5:05, so I think they're happy enough with the way the day's turning out. I've got to say I am too. You can see the moon's still up at the moment. It actually only came up at about 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock, so it's only going to have beaten the sun by about 2 hours. So I'm just watching the sun come up over the sea behind the camera, and it's time to get some breakfast going, I think. I'm planning on getting out of here before about 7:30, and then that should give me about 3 hours to get back to the car in decent time, and then I'll get on home. I've got some porridge for breakfast as usual. So, nice bit of hot water, get that boiled up, and it'll be time for some food. So that's me all packed up now. This is where my tent was. So as always, you know the drill, leave no trace. It's time for me to head back now. I'm going to follow a very slightly different route. I'm going to stick more to the southwest coast path than the Tarka trail which I took in here. So that's going to give me a bit more elevation as I head towards Heddon's mouth, and also I'll be taking the higher paths back to Woody Bay because the Tarka trail tends to scout around the sides of the various cliffs and whatnot on the way. It's going to be a real shame to leave this place. It kind of seems sad to find somewhere so beautiful and then you're only there for about 12 hours or so and it's time to move on. But I really wouldn't mind coming back here. And as I mentioned, this is Great Hangman here, and just around the side here there are some entrances to the old mine system, which dates back to the late 1700s, and you can actually head on into the mountain there, into some of those passageways and see some of the shafts up above as well. So that would be a fun trick to do one time. But for now it's time to say goodbye to my lovely little camp spot and get walking off towards Heddon's mouth. This is the route I'll be following. So you can see the track that leads me off here, and then I basically just follow the tops of these cliffs, swooping along the edges of all those fields. That's the southwest coast path, which is a pretty nice route for me to follow back to the car. I mentioned last night that there were a couple of people camping nearby where I pitched my tent. We had a chance to have a chat this morning before they headed on. Their names are Val and Norm. I'll stick a picture of them up now. And they are hiking the entirety of the southwest coast path, which I believe is about 630 miles. It's going to take them a couple of months, and they are raising money for the Disabled Ramblers charity. So I'll stick a link to their Just Giving page in the description of this video. And it's a great charity. They are looking to purchase the off-road hiking buggies you get, so basically a mobility cart but geared up to tackle the great outdoors. And it's all too easy to take our mobility for granted, so even if I were to selfishly think of myself, if I were to have an accident or some kind of disease or injury that meant that I could no longer come out walking, that would really impact me. So to think that there are people out there who are enabling such people with whatever disability it may be to get back out into the outdoors is definitely something I'm going to be supporting. I'm back at Heddon's mouth now, which just about marks the halfway point. The halfway point should have been a little bit further back there, but somebody left his GoPro on a wall and had to walk another 0.3 miles, 0.6 mile round trip to go and get it. Genius. Anyway, so yeah, I'm round about the 4 mile mark, 4.5 miles, and it should be about 7.5 or 8 miles by the time I get back to the car. Time to go up this great big hill again. Well, I've eaten most of the height out of Heddon Cleeve now, with only about 15 metres left to climb, I think. And I'm just walking down an avenue of bright yellow gorse bushes, which are all in flower now. So I have about 2 miles to go back to the car now. And with most of the climbing out of the way, it should be a much easier run back. I'm just a few hundred meters away from the car park now, so I'll end the video here in case the car park's full of people. It's only Thursday, so hopefully it'll be quiet still. It's been a really good camp. It's another 7.5 mile walk today, so that's 15 miles all in. Over too quickly, as always. I could have spent hours sitting out looking at the sky and the sea last night, and I really wouldn't mind going back there sometime. All the best to Val and Norm on your southwest coast path walk. I'm sure you'll have a really good time, and I will keep in touch with you through Instagram because I'd love to see how you get on. So thank you for watching me. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.